Because I want you to understand this. Money loves speed. Wealth takes time. Poverty is attracted to ignorance, and success is formulaic.
Welcome to the Bedros Keuilian Show.
10 rules for getting rich in 10 years or less. Hey guys, my name is Bedros Keuilian. Welcome to the Bedros Keuilian Show. And today I want to talk to you about creating wealth, getting rich. Specifically, I think I'm qualified for this because by 27, I had made my first million. By 29, I had exited my first company. Since then, I've exited 2 more companies. And today, my net worth is just over $200 million. And I'm massively grateful for that. And I've got a track record of 20 years as an entrepreneur to be able to show you how you can do this as well. So let's get going. Now, they say money doesn't solve all problems. I can tell you that it doesn't, but it sure does solve the problem of not having money. And if you don't have money, well, you end up staying awake at night. You wonder how those bills are going to get paid, how groceries going to get bought, how your mortgage or your rent's going to get covered, and how you can give your family the experiences and give them access to better health and conditions in life. So money, as it turns out, is very important. But this is more than just money. This is about getting rich in terms of wealth creation. And so I've got 10 things that I've put together here for y'all that I want to really drive home, because if you do these 10 things, I promise you the outcome will be wealth for life. And the reason is, like everything else, it's formulaic. So let's get started. Thing number 1 that you ought to know is that most people overestimate what they can accomplish in 1 year, and they underestimate what they can accomplish in 10 years. And I can tell you I was absolutely guilty of this. Let me give you an example. So when I started High Tech Trainer many years ago, 1999, maybe 2000, I started High Tech Trainer, and it was supposed to be this workouts on a Palm Pilot. This is well before the iPhone and Android. So there was these Palm Pilots, these little devices that people would carry. And the idea was that if you can't afford a personal trainer at a big box gym because the personal trainer costs too much, then you could check out or rent a Palm Pilot with done-for-you workouts on there with exercise demonstrations, sets, reps, tempo, all those things. And you would be able to put yourself through a custom designed workout based on your specific goals and wants. Now, it sounds like that would be a winner, right? Here's the thing. I had a couple of business partners in it, specifically 3 other business partners in it. And me being new to entrepreneurship at that time, while I had my own gym, I certainly hadn't had any massive exits or anything big like that I could really hang my hat on. I kind of would listen to one of my partners who would come to me with all these spreadsheets, and I later ended up calling it funny math. He would do funny math, and the funny math is this. He would say, man, if we can just get into Bally's Total Fitness, or if we can just get into LA Fitness, and we could penetrate this percentage of their members, and we can get 20,000 people paying us $49 a month, we'd be making about $11 million a year. He goes, and I think we can do this in the next 6 months. And I was like, yeah, we can do this in the next 6 months. We can get on pace to make $11 million a year in the next 6 months and then scale from there, right? The thing is, we overestimated what we can accomplish in a 12-month period, in a year. Most new entrepreneurs do that. The reason you do that is because you don't know these setbacks, challenges, adversities, detours that you're going to have to take in the quest of building your business, building your empire. For example, I actually remember her name, Tia Willows, the vice president of Bally's Total Fitness back in the day. Her name was Tia Willows. And myself and Jim Franco flew out, because Jim Franco was one of my business partners in this venture. We flew out to Chicago, and we were going to meet with Tia Willows. As we got there, as it turns out, some catastrophe happened at Bally's Total Fitness headquarters, and we had to fly back without ever meeting Tia. So that was going to be our first opportunity to pitch High Tech Trainer to a big box gym. And all of a sudden that opportunity's gone. But we spent months prepping for that opportunity, right? PowerPoints specific to Bally's Total Fitness, figuring out exactly what their members pay, exactly what they pay for personal training, what they pay for their memberships, what the lifetime value is. We built this entire pitch over several months for Bally's Total Fitness, only to get there and to realize they were dealing with some internal catastrophe. And so they were like, sorry guys, we can't see you. And so Jim and I get on a plane and we fly back. Now, guess when the next meeting was? The next meeting was 8 months later. So already we had burned a year just with Bally's Total Fitness. We had prepared this thing for them because they had shown some basic level of interest in High Tech Trainer. But the reality was that they had an internal catastrophe, and before long, it didn't work out. Now get this, by the time we had that second meeting 9 months later, we have the meeting, and as they're telling us, hey, before we can actually bring High Tech Trainer into the company, we have to first see if we're going to go bankrupt or not. We're currently filing for bankruptcy protection. If we can get some additional funding and keep Bally's Total Fitness afloat, then we will end up being in business and we can bring High Tech Trainer on board. As it turns out, if you know the history, Bally's Total Fitness went out of business. By the time we went to LA Fitness, which I actually had a relationship with, this didn't work out so well either. And I share all this with you because we had already done so many spreadsheets on how many members we need to do $1 million, on how many members we need to do $11 million. And you do all these funny maths and you think that you're going to achieve so much in 1 year. And the reason is you don't know what you don't know. And so in the planning section of building a business, you start doing math. Programming will take this long, or getting the apparel, or getting the supplements, or launching the franchise. You start planning. Assumption says that everything's going to work out exactly like you want it to work out. And so under those assumptions, you go, well, if everything works out the way it's going to work out, the city gives me the permits and the economy continues to thrive and the bank gives me the loan that they were going to give me, then I will do well. And by month number 10, 11, maybe 12, I'll be a millionaire. The reality is a lot of things happen that get you off of your plan. In fact, the plan is only good during the planning time. Beyond the planning time, the plan continues to evolve, change, shift as you go. But what I can tell you from firsthand experience is if you were able to commit and lock in for 10 years and then surprise yourself when 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 years in, you're now making millions, that's a better strategy than to plan out and make spreadsheets that showcase $1 million, $2 million, $3 million, $20 million win. And then when you don't hit that timeline, and in fact, when you're now over budget and you're under goal, you get depressed. You start feeling like you failed. And before long, everyone starts losing morale. And so if I could tell you any one thing, is that most of you will overestimate what you can accomplish in 1 year and you underestimate what you will accomplish in 10 years. And that's because by year 2, by year 3, your experience, your knowledge, your network, your contact list compounds and grows, assuming obviously that you're doing all the right things to make the connections with the people and the organizations in the industry that you're in, right? And so things begin to compound a lot faster. Like what would take 6 months in the first year might take 6 weeks in year 3, might take 6 days in year 5. Right? And that's because you have more access, you have more capital, you have more smarts, you know shortcuts now. So never, ever, ever fall for that trap like I did and like many entrepreneurs do that end up demoralizing you. Instead, commit for a 10-year all-in entrepreneurial focus, locked in for your goal. And then when you hit that goal in 6, 7, 8 years or so, count yourself very lucky and very blessed. Lesson number 2, avoid partnerships and retain equity at all cost. Now, as someone that has partners today, and you know this because I'm partnered with Fuel Hunt, right? I own equity in Fuel Hunt. I own equity in FitPro Tracker. I own equity in many other businesses out there. And I've given equity in some of my businesses to others. But in the beginning, when you are launching your quest as an entrepreneur, the reason you're going to get a partner is because you are lacking confidence, you feel insecure, and you're trying to hedge the risk by getting a partner on board. The problem with that is your partner is equally insecure, lacking confidence, and is trying to hedge their risk. So it's 2 brand new people going into a partnership, and in the best case scenario, if things work out, you're already only getting half of the profits. So look how much money you gave away from the get-go, and that's if things work out. Two brand new people, both insecure, lacking confidence, and no experience. And so when I did this in the beginning, I would lose a lot of businesses because I would go into business with partners who didn't have experience and didn't have the know-how, weren't necessarily connected in that industry. Yet I figured if I have partners, then I can hedge my risk. So I'll give you an example with high-tech trainer, as we talked about earlier. It was myself and three other partners, right? One of them was a software architect. One of them was the actual software programmer. And the other one was Jim Franco, my mentor and the financial guy, and then me, the fitness guy, right? And so there's four of us. So already the company has been divided in four factions. And so at best, I've got 25% of that company because we didn't have the money to pay a software programmer. We ended up giving him equity and saying, hey, when we win, you win. We didn't have money to pay for an architect. So we gave him equity and said, when we win, you win. And when in reality, what I should have done is raised more money, retained more of the equity, paid the architect and software programmer for the work they did. This way, if their work was not meeting my expectations, the timeline, the deadline, the quality of work, I could fire them. Because imagine what happens when you actually go into business partnerships with people because you think they're bringing in a skill or a value to the table, but in reality, they missed the mark. The quality is not to your expectations. And now you've given equity away in your company to someone that you don't even want to keep around, right? So I'm telling you, business partnerships are the kiss of death if you're new in business. Now, when does it make sense to have a business partner? Well, if that business partner is bringing something so unique and special that you yourself can't get or access, then it might make sense to have a business partner. I'll give you a great example, right? If I'm bringing in money, like you're looking to raise capital, and I've got capital that I can give you, you shouldn't immediately try and give me equity in your company. The reason is you might say, hey, Bedros, how about you loan me $500,000 and I'll give you 12% interest back over the next 2 years on that $500,000. This way you retain 100% of the equity, but I'm putting my money to work in your business and I'm getting 12% interest a year for the next 2 years on my $500,000. And then of course I get my $500,000 back plus 2 years of interest, right? Now, on the flip side, let's say I also, different scenario, I'm going to loan you $500,000. I have that money to give you and you're raising capital for that business that you're trying to launch. But I also have a massive audience, and my audience consists of the right people who are going to buy that product that you're going to build, that business that you're building. Then you might say, hey, B, listen, instead of giving you interest, what if you invest that $500,000 and we give you equity in the company, ownership in the company, because you have an audience of potential customers for us. And now you can drive those customers to our business, knowing that when we make more money, collectively, we all make more money. And when we go to sell the business, you get money not only when we're doing shareholder distribution on a quarterly basis, but also on the back end when we go to sell the company, right? So that's called a strategic partnership. It makes sense to have a strategic partner if I'm bringing in an audience or a specific skill that you can't access or you don't have, or I'm bringing in money in a way that you can't access. Maybe no one wants to loan you money. Maybe no banks are going to loan you money. You have bad credit and you've got a new business, and so no bank wants to take that bet on you. But there might be an independent individual out there who wants to bet on you for the interest that they're going to get back. That might be a great time to also take a partner on board, right? But in the absence of those skills or those unique things that a partner can bring, an audience or money, do not bring on a partner just because we're homies, we're best buds, we grew up together, and also back in your mind, you're trying to hedge your bets, right? Doesn't make sense. Number 3, all money is time for dollars. There's no such thing as passive income. Passive income is a lie. All money is time for dollars. Think about this. You might be making $20, $30, $40, $50 per hour right now, whatever it is that you're doing, right? I might be making several hundred thousands of dollars per hour based on what I do as founder and CEO of all these different companies. But we're all trading time for dollars. Now, granted, I may not be in the weeds doing the thing and trading those times for dollars, but I'm managing people, I'm leading people, I'm spending time on casting a vision, I'm spending time connecting with people. Let's use Fit Body Bootcamp, for example. As we grew Fit Body Bootcamp beyond the United States into Canada, I had to make connections with people in Canada. While I was obviously doing the work, I was getting paid a higher dollar per hour in terms of making the right connections in Canada to bring Fit Body Bootcamp franchise into Canada. Same as we're doing in Australia. If we're gonna bring Fit Body Bootcamp into Australia next, my job and Bryce's job, my CEO, our jobs are to trade time for dollars to make the right connections. So no matter what, even though Fit Body Bootcamp is automated for me, even though I've got a leader and a great team and we've got systems in place, it's close to passive income, but when a big move needs to be made, guess what? I'm the guy trading my time for dollars to make that big move. Now, that big move might end up taking me 2, 3, 4, 5 months to make the right connections, to be able to get our foot in the door in Australia, to be able to franchise Fit Body Bootcamp there as well. And it's only something that I can do because I might need connections, right? I'm not talking about government regulations and stuff. We got a whole compliance team and lawyers who do that stuff. I'm talking about specific connections that can help us bring the right audience and the right potential franchisees in Australia to buy franchises from us. So when I look at it that way, it's always a trade for time for dollars. The difference is when I trade my time for dollars for those several months, and now we plug in a leadership team in Australia, let's say, now it becomes somewhat passive, but that doesn't mean that I'm not involved. And the reason I share this with you guys is so many of you are locked onto this idea of so much freedom so early on in your journey that if it's not completely passive, you take a pass on it. I'm here to tell you, every single successful person, Warren Buffett, is not just making passive income. He's making decisions, he's meeting people, he's calling shots, he's looking through numbers to make one big decision that can make him more income. That income might be passive after that decision, but he spent time, energy, and effort making decisions, going over information, looking at historical numbers, to be able to make that decision, right? Same with Elon Musk. You think Elon Musk is making passive income? You don't think he's out there talking about Tesla? Like most recently, when he launched the Cybertruck, he was on Joe Rogan's show talking about the Tesla truck, the Cybertruck, and then they go into the garage where they have a Cybertruck parked, and Joe takes his bow and arrow, and he launches an arrow right at the door of the Cybertruck, and the arrow shatters, and that became a really good point of advertisement. Now, do you think anyone else from Tesla could have come and done that demonstration on Joe Rogan's show? You think Joe Rogan would give them the platform? Of course not. Joe Rogan has a show. He expects Elon to be on that show, and Elon is the one who can use Joe Rogan's platform as a marketing venue. How much time and effort did how much time and effort did Elon Musk take to build a relationship with Joe Rogan to allow him to come on Joe Rogan's show anytime he wants to talk about SpaceX, to talk about Neuralink, to talk about Tesla, to talk about now his position in the Trump administration as the head of government efficiency. All that time that Elon took to build a relationship with Joe Rogan and anyone else that's got a massive platform, that is Elon spending time for dollars. The dollars that he'll make later from the Cybertruck passively turns out are not so passive, are they? Because he made time to connect with people. He took that time and energy on the back end, and that's what you don't see. So understand that passive income is a lie. All income is time for dollars. You could eventually plug in people to manage your income streams. It becomes more passive than active on your part. But when the poop hits the fan, at the end of the day, you're the decision maker. You write the name on the front of the check. You have to go and fix the problem. All right, number 4, if you can manage your time and energy, you can manage money. See, I see a lot of people building businesses. They know how to market. They know how to sell. However, they don't know how to manage their time and their energy, and therefore they're very poor at managing their money. And your ability to make money is literally capped by your ability to manage your time and energy. If your time and energy is spent on other frivolous stuff, trivial stuff that are a waste of time, that don't have the same return on investment, then you are going to grow slower than the guy or gal who's got a identical business, but they are locked on. They have singularity of focus, and they are managing their time and their energy. You can understand time because it's like, well, am I going to do a $5 an hour job, or am I going to do a $50 an hour job, or am I going to do a $500 an hour job, right? You can understand that. Managing time means managing money. You can do that. Or am I going to scroll on social media, or am I going to do the things that are going to drive leads, increase sales, boost retention, increase average order value, factors like that, right? That is managing time. And if you can manage time, you can manage money. But what about energy? Well, think about this. If you're stressed, if you're sleep deprived, if you're in a marriage or in a relationship that's chaotic, and you're constantly arguing with your spouse or your girlfriend or your boyfriend, then what happens next? Your energy capacity is minimized, and therefore your ability to focus, to lock in, to lead is compromised. And if that happens, then you become useless to your organization. And you might be like, well, that might just happen once or twice a year. Yeah, once or twice a year, possibly not. It's probably happening to you more like several times a year. And you compound that year after year after year, and you see how the person who doesn't have energy issues because they have perfect life structure, that person is miles ahead of you on the income scoreboard than you are, because you continue to fail in terms of managing your energy and focus and managing your time. Again, if you can't manage time and energy, you cannot manage money. Money will elude you. Number 5, make money and then invest money. What I mean by this is, a lot of you out there want to take whatever little bit of money you made and invest it in something that can compound quickly. It might be cryptocurrency. It might be, hey, I want to get in on a real estate syndicate to be able to be a fractional real estate investor. It might be to invest in someone else's business because you're like, man, that business probably has more potential than my business. The reality is you don't know who that other person is in terms of behind closed doors. Are they going to make the right decision? Are they one decision away from being a cokehead or a failure at life or going through a divorce and therefore not being able to focus on their business, right? You don't know any of that. It's too tempting to try and invest new money when you don't have a track record of consistently making money. So when I say make money and then invest money, I'm saying make money and then invest money in yourself, in your personal development, in your ability to lead, in your ability to communicate, in your ability to create multiple income streams, in your ability to manage people. Because if you can do those things, then guess what happens? You can compound the growth of your wealth. If you can't do those things, then you are literally capped. I forget who it was. There's an author out there, I think the gentleman that wrote 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership. He said, your income is literally limited by your level of leadership and self-development. And I believe that to be true. And so the greatest investment you can make is an investment in your personal growth, in your health, in your fitness, in your focus, in your relationship. Because if you have all of these exterior factors under control, you will be more focused, more locked in to make money. Does that mean that you shouldn't invest money eventually? No, you absolutely should. The third step would be to invest in outside things, right? Maybe it's real estate, maybe it's crypto, maybe it's other people's businesses that you see that if they just did this and that and this other move, they can all of a sudden have exponential growth because you've got enough experience from your own business that you can translate into their business and get them to force multiply their growth. And therefore you can be an investor in their company knowing that, all right, I'm going to invest and then we're going to make these 3 moves and then boom, we're going to make more money, right? That's what I do with the companies that I take equity in. I've got so much history and track record and experience in what I do in terms of growing businesses, knowing where the markets are, where the opportunities are, where the back end income is, where the continuity is, monthly recurring revenue, right? How to boost profit margins, how to increase retention and referral generation, how to get the average order value. I've got all this experience from all the different companies, from Fit Pro Tracker and from Fuel Hunt, from Fit Body Bootcamp, from my coaching business, from my live experiential business workshops and events and retreats and masterminds, from Truly Supplements, so that I can transfer that knowledge into someone else's business. Though at that point I would invest. And guess what? That is the highest risk of investment. Because when I make money and I invest it in myself and my companies, I know the effort that I'm going to take. Like, I have no doubt in my own effort. I have no doubt in the effort of the people that work with me because I see them every day. I connect with them every day. I know what they're focused on. If I see that they're off track, I'll have the conversations with them. We'll have the meetings and we'll get them back on track. But if I'm investing in someone else's idea, someone else's get rich quick scheme, someone else's harebrained new solution for something, what if they don't execute? What if they have a bad day? What if something goes wrong? What happens to my money then? And I don't just share this with you anecdotally, I share this with you from actual real life experience. Hey guys, quick interruption to the show. Let me tell you all about the Truly Wellness Shot. If you're like me and you care about your health, hydration, and building a strong immune system so you can stay active and you can get after it in life, then you want to try the Truly Wellness Shot. I used to take 11 different supplements in the morning, things like vitamin C, vitamin D, vitamin B12, echinacea, ginger, and a whole bunch more. Now it's all included in the Truly Wellness Shot. I want to send you a 30-day supply for 50% off. Just go to Trulian.com, use the code word Bedros, my name, to get 50% off. You'll also get free shipping. You get a 30-day unconditional money-back guarantee, and $1 of every order goes to Shriners Children's Hospital. And when you use the code word Bedros and do the subscribe and save, which is a Trulian Tribe program, every month you'll get a fresh supply of Trulian Wellness Shots for an additional 20% off and free shipping, and $1 of every monthly order will go to Shriners Children's Hospital. So go to Trulian.com, use code word Bedros, and take advantage of this amazing offer. Now back to the show. Number 6, I need you guys to learn to audit your bank accounts and your spending. I know it's scary, it's overwhelming. I once had one of my Domination Year coaching clients say that after 6 months of working together, he started actually actively looking at his bank account. I said, well, how did you know how much money you had? He goes, well, when I would, things would come out automatically from my bank account if I didn't get a non-sufficient funds email from the bank, then I knew I was doing okay. Or if I went to the ATM to take out cash, if the money was there, then I was doing okay. Like every now and again, I would see that slip out of the ATM machine. I'm like, why weren't you looking at your bank account? He's like, well, I was afraid of what I was going to see. And I know it's scary, especially during these times. And I know we've got a new administration with Trump, and if all goes well, inflation will get under control and the economy won't tank as bad as it's going to tank. Because I'm going to tell you, it's going to tank no matter what. We're already headed there. It's just how hard is it going to tank? Hopefully not as bad as it would have tanked if we had Kamala in office. But this isn't about Trump or Kamala. This is about you creating wealth. And if you're looking to create wealth, you have to be in direct contact with your bank account. You have to know exactly how much money lives in your bank account every morning. When you wake up, you're probably going into your social media. You're probably watching videos on YouTube. You're probably listening to music and scrolling through TikTok and Instagram. What if the first thing you did after you showered and shaved and went to your workstation at home, typically the kitchen table, what if you actually opened up your bank account and saw how much money was in there, compared to how much money was in there yesterday or last week or last month, figure out where the money went to, the spend, right? Figure out what are the top 10 things that are emptying out your bank account every month. Some things might be legit. Hey, you've got rent. I get it. Write it down. Rent, number 1, right? What about Food. All right, food. Number two, is it food like grocery store food? Or is it food like restaurant food that is optional and more expensive and probably comes with a couple of cocktails, and therefore you're leaving a bigger tip, and before you know it, you could have probably fed yourself for an entire week without one meal at a restaurant that you didn't necessarily need to go out and eat? Is it all the different subscriptions you have to Prime and Netflix and to Spotify and to whatever, right? Think about how many different holes there are in your bathtub of bank account. Now, if you think you can just put so much money in there, outproduce the exiting money, you can't. So you have to actively keep track of what's in your bank account every day, compare it to where it was yesterday, figure out what the top 10 things are that are draining your bank account, and the things that are, I guess, recreational, the things that are optional, the things that are not mandatory. If I were you, I would absolutely put a stop to those. And when you put a stop to the spending and you have your finger on the pulse on a daily basis of your bank account, you will see that that which you track, you can improve. That which you avoid, you will end up crash landing and wondering why you're broke next year and the year after. Number 7, ignorance is the highest tax that broke people pay. Simple as that. Ignorance is the thing that repels wealth. Ignorance is the thing that repels personal growth. Ignorance is the thing that keeps you stagnated in life. Ignorance is the highest tax that broke people will pay in their life. The greatest thing you can do, when I said make money and then invest, is to invest in gaining knowledge, experience, time collapsing the desired outcome by learning from mentors. And if you're like, well, I can't afford a coach or a mentor right now, I bet what you can do is go learn from someone. I bet you can go find someone in the industry that you want to succeed at. And if you ask 10 people who are already successful in that space, one of them is likely to allow you to hang out with them, see what it is they do on a daily basis, and you can learn by osmosis. Better yet, you might go get hired by one of these people, and now you're getting paid for mentorship. So don't for a moment think that it's okay for you to stay ignorant because mom and dad didn't send you to college. Mom and dad didn't teach you the stuff you need to know. The school system failed you. A lot of people may have failed you. That does not give you permission to stay ignorant where money, wealth, and generational wealth is concerned. Especially if you've got a family, you've got kids. You can't pass along your money ignorance, your wealth ignorance to your kids. That is literally the definition of generational trauma. And you're like, wait a minute, I'm not abusing them. If I just don't understand money, then they're not going to understand money. To me, that's still generational trauma. It's just financial trauma. Because there'll be times that money could have helped them, saved them, gave them a better option. And because you failed to educate yourself and you stayed ignorant about money and wealth, you failed to pass this along to them. And so the greatest thing you can do is you can time collapse by figuring out what areas you are deficient in, what areas you are ignorant in, and fix those. Trust me when I say you are spending time and money on other things anyway, things that you don't need, things that don't give you any more value in your life, things that depreciate instead of appreciate. And so if you spent that money on mentorship and coaching, or you spent time on going through podcasts and YouTube shows and books and courses that can remove ignorance and replace it with skills, traits, habits that the wealthy and successful have, then you are now putting yourself in a place of empowerment. Because I want you to understand this. Money loves speed. Wealth takes time. Poverty is attracted to ignorance, and success is formulaic. You have to understand that. And you might say, well, I'm blue collar this, or I'm an immigrant that. No excuses. But somebody failed me and I was abused and beat up. Same. I could check off every one of those boxes. I'm an immigrant. I was abused. I was physically and sexually abused as a kid. I've dealt with serious financial hardship. I've put myself in massive financial debt, like 6 figures upside down. and I dug my way out of it. There's nothing special about me other than the fact that I was willing to replace ignorance with intelligence as quickly as possible by time collapsing. Why take 5 years to replace your ignorance with intelligence when you can take 5 months by either working for someone, paying for it, or doing the research on YouTube and Spotify and iTunes and through courses and books, etc. The answers are out there, but unless you solve your ignorance issues, you'll continue to stay broke. Number 8, develop money-making skills. And the money-making skills that you need to develop if you're going to launch a business, if you're going to grow a business, you're going to take equity in businesses, you're going to be someone who is going to be able to scale and sell a business, you need to learn how to market, direct response marketing specifically. You need to learn how to sell, not just sell face-to-face, but sell from stage. You need to sell from a podcast platform, from a YouTube show. You need to learn how to sell in print, in writing captions. You need to be able to speak and write and communicate persuasively. If you can't influence people and you haven't developed the skill to influence and persuade others into seeing things your way, you're always going to struggle in life. And if you're like, yeah, but I don't know, that's not naturally factory installed for me, Bedros. Neither was the English language for me. Remember that I'm an immigrant to this country. I had to learn English before I could even learn how to be influential, persuasive, learn to sell, learn to market. But if you can learn to market, learn to sell, learn to write persuasively, as in copy, right? Learn to lead, develop your leadership skills, leadership muscles, learn to manage people. There's people with all types of emotions and feelings and traits. You're not always going to be surrounded by people just like you where you know how to manage them. You might have to manage people who are emotional. You might have to manage people who are aggressive. You might have to manage people who are shy. You might have to manage people who are extroverted or introverted. And if you can learn to manage, you can develop a team. And when you develop a team, trust me, my team in this building and across the country are made of all types of people, man. Personalities, traits, habits, communication styles. And if I don't know how to lead and manage them, I'm always going to be limited in my growth. And with that, you have to be a great communicator. And communication is not factory installed for anyone. I believe maybe leadership can be. Some people can be born natural leaders. I certainly wasn't. But communication, you have to be able to learn to communicate what you're thinking and feeling to the people across from you, either through a microphone, camera, in person, on a social media post. Imagine you've got a team of people, they are believers in you, but they have no idea where you want the business to go. It is up to you and your ability to communicate, to be able to transfer the vision of where we're going from 0 sales to 100 million sales over the next 10 years. And if you can't communicate that vision in a way that they are ecstatic, they are enthusiastic, they are bought in, and they are committed, you'll always have churn and turnover, not only in the form of employees, but in the form of customers, right? And so developing skills that make money, like marketing, sales, copywriting, leadership, management, and communication, will give you a massive advantage. Gone are the days of your father and mother or your grandparents where they just had to develop one skill, work in a company, make enough money to be able to take care of their whole family with 2 cars and a vacation every year and a nice home. Those days are gone, where just go to college, develop one skill. Yet they're telling you that still. The school system, your parents are still telling you to just go develop that one skill. Well, guess what? 5 of my domination year coaching clients, 5 of them are doctors. Cardiac doctor, plastic surgeon, emergency room doctor, orthopedic doctor, and then I think one is a gut health doctor. All of these doctors who were working in the hospital systems post 2020, after the pandemic, decided to go and work for themselves, create their own businesses. And they were shocked when just being a great doctor was not enough to make the kind of money they needed and wanted to make. And they came to me to learn how to market, to sell, to communicate, to lead, to manage, to be influential and persuasive, to learn how to build a network, how to make offers. These are the things that you must develop if you are interested. That doesn't mean you have to do these all the time, but you have to know these things first to know what a good copywriter looks like. You have to know sales so that when you have a sales team or a sales organization, you know what good sales numbers look like. You have to know what good marketing looks like. In the beginning, you'll do these things. Later, you will delegate these things. But as one of my favorite people on the planet, he was the head chef of all of Disneyland when I worked at Disneyland. He said it best. He said, Bedros, as head chef, I have to know how to be a busboy. I have to know how to work the bar as a bartender. I have to know how to work the grill. I have to know how to serve, and I have to learn how to host. Because if I lose any one of those people who do those things for me, in my restaurant, I have to step in. Now, as the head chef, his job was to oversee all of us. And at the time, I was a fry cook. But I bet that if I had called in sick, he would have stepped in if they couldn't find someone else to come in. So understand that you must develop the skills that wealth demands. And those were the skills. Number 9, you've got to build your personal brand, because when you build your personal brand, you create many incoming roads of opportunities for you. In the beginning, you're a nobody. No one knows you, likes you, and trusts you. You're not a person of expert or authority, let alone a celebrity. But your job is to get there as quickly as you can. And you do that by developing your personal brand, being known for a specific thing in a specific industry. And the bigger the audience you can build, the more influence you will have. And if you can start a YouTube show and a podcast and have a social media following of the right market, the right audience, the right people, soon, not only are you doing better for your business, but people are going to want to give you equity and opportunities in their businesses because you've got an audience and you've got all of this influence with that audience because you learned how to sell, you learned how to communicate, you learned how to be persuasive. You see how these all work together, right? But if you can't brand yourself and build a personal brand and a giant tribe of fanatical people who love your message, one, your business is going to grow slower, and two, you won't have the opportunities for future wealth to come into you. Just because of my show, just because of my audience size, just because of my ability to communicate and to only put in front of you what I believe is a worthwhile thing to purchase, whether it's Fit Body Bootcamp, whether it's Truly Supplements, it's Fuel Hunt Apparel, because of who I am and how I deliver and how I keep my promises to you, my audience, and my customers, I've got companies coming out of the woodworks to partner with me, to give me equity so that I could expose them on this show, so that I could share them on my social media platforms and to my email list and to my network of people. And so I want you to have that opportunity because that's how you diversify your wealth. You're not just going to have your own business and then an investment in, let's say, real estate and crypto and stock markets. But now you can have investments in other people's businesses without ever putting a single penny down for equity, simply because you have influence with an audience who is willing to buy what you're selling. Number 10, you've got to understand that money is directly proportionate to the amount of value that you add. But wealth is directly proportionate to the number of people that you serve over time. So I'll say that again. Money is directly proportionate to the amount of value that you add. And I know what you're going to say, but cops and firefighters, look, man, I've got a lot of cops and firefighter friends. I've got a lot of friends in the military. Value is not determined by what cops and firefighters and our military men and women do. I wish it was. I think cops and firefighters and military men and women and people in, doctors that work emergency rooms, they should get paid a shit ton of money. But the reality is you determine value. So before you jump down my throat, like, well, wait, Bedros, cops and firefighters are so valuable. How come they only make like $75,000 to $100,000 a year? That's because you value actors and sitcoms and movies and sports and these goofball athletes more. You spend money on their jerseys, their hats, on tickets to their games. You give them your time and energy by watching them on television. And therefore, you're just more eyeballs for the network to run ads to. And therefore, those athletes and actors and celebrities will make more money because you have determined they are more valuable for your entertainment than cops are and firefighters are for your safety and well-being. So please don't jump up my ass about it. But I'm telling you right now, money is in direct proportion to the amount of value that you add. But wealth is directly proportionate to the amount of people that you serve over time. You notice that, right? So not only are you going to serve people, but you're going to serve people over time. It compounds. I know way too many people that launched a great business, started making good money, but self-destructed in the process, failed to help enough people over time, and went back to being failures. Their reputations were bruised and broken, and they're never to be heard of again. You probably know of people like that who launched and they were awesome and amazing and they're putting out great content and their product is solid, but then they somehow self-destructed because of drug issues or alcohol issues or just making bad decisions with the wrong chicks that they're with or whatever it is, or tax issues or just whatever shady shit they did caused them to stop in their tracks. And therefore, they weren't able to amass wealth because wealth is a byproduct of serving others over a long period of time. I don't know why it works that way, but it does. And you have to believe it because it's a universal law. Guys, with that said, if you have not gotten my book, Man Up, because we've got so many new viewers and listeners on YouTube and across Spotify and iTunes. If you have not gotten my book, Man Up, yet, here's your chance. You can go get it on Amazon. It's like $22, best-selling, international bestseller, Wall Street Journal bestseller, or you can get it for $5, the digital version for $5, plus the audiobook as well. All included for $5, and I'm donating 100% of that $5 to Shriners Children's Hospital. You know my goal is to help millions of children over the years, and I want to become the #1 donator to Shriners Children's Hospital. We can do this together. This book is all about how you can cut the BS and kick butt in business and in life. 6 pillars of life and entrepreneurial leadership. Just go to manup. What is it? Not manup.com. If you go to manup.com, you're going to pay full price for it. Instead, you're going to go to manuptribe.com and you can get this, the digital version plus the audiobook for $5, and 100% of that money goes to Shriners Children's Hospital. So go pick it up, or you can get the hard copy from Amazon or any one of your favorite bookstores. But with that said, understand that wealth is created over time. These 10 rules will help you get there. And know this, that average is the enemy, yet success is your responsibility, and change can take place in an instant if you are willing to flip the switch. I'll see you next time.